Welcome to the stream. Sabotage. I got a copyright notice from someone about using Vincent's music on one of my old live streams from February. And I thought, so the way it worked is I reached out to Vincent via his Patreon months ago, long time ago, back when I started using that music. And I said, hey, is it cool if I use your song for my live stream? And he said, yeah, just credit me. And of course, I joined his Patreon too, as a way of saying thank you. And then I found out just recently when I got this copyright notice that he shut his Patreon down. So, okay, fine. And now I'm kind of concerned that he may have sold the rights to his music to someone who's now going to start enforcing copyright, which will be annoying. I will have to stop using it, I guess, which is a shame, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe we'll go back to the old song. Anybody remember that? Remember What If I'm No Good for You? What If I'm No Good for You? Some people really miss that song. We'll have to see. I thought I would, it's a cold, cold day, and I thought I would wear, this is a very summery shirt. I feel like it is anyway. It's a very summery shirt. It makes me feel summery. And I thought I would wear a summery shirt on a cold day. And that's what we're doing today. And the watch of the stream is once again, the old IWC Pilot Chrono. The Chinese clone IWC Pilot Chrono. Non-legitimate. Yeah. Yeah, but you don't know. You can't tell. Oh. Yeah. Here, wait. Can we get a little ASMR? Let's see if this comes through. Oh. Oh, yeah. That sounds... I like that. I like that. All right. We're going to answer questions. We're going to get to you guys' questions. Is that some kind of wristband? It's a strap. It's a watch. It's a strap. What do you mean? Is it some kind of wristband? It's a suede. It's brown suede. If you're curious. Oh, here's our answer questions. Is analog still worth it in 2026? If so, what is your analog setup? Is analog still worth it in 2026? Analog, okay. And I know that this is going to sound weird for someone who has, in the past, sometimes said, like, for example, when I reviewed the SkyZone Sky O4 Pro, I was like, an analog goggle in 2025? SkyZone, releasing a new analog is dead. I didn't exactly say that, but let's just say there's a certain incentive on YouTube to say mildly inflammatory things that get people, I must watch this video so I can argue with it. And then it's like, yes, feed me your rage. I feel like as YouTubers go, I don't rage bait as much as some, but I'm not immune from, like poking you a little bit to try to get a rise. And there is a part of me that looks at the world where digital, Walksnail, DJI, even HDZero are as advanced as they are. And like, well, I mean, analog will always, some people still listen to records, right? Haha, now I'm doing it again, aren't I? You're going to really piss some people off. But, wow, records are superior. They're the superior form of reproduction because blah, 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 blah. But I like analog in some ways is on the way out, except the world kind of hasn't gone that way, has it? For one thing, the demand for FPV systems has outstripped the ability of digital systems to keep up. And there is a need for inexpensive video systems that can be produced at huge scale, tens of thousands a month. That need is not coming from hobbyists. That need is coming from people who fly their drones. They treat their drones as consumable items and not precious. Famously, Sharpoo once said, don't fall in love with your drone. And what Sharpoo meant was, as a hobbyist, don't fall in love with your drone because you need to fly it, you need to crash it. It's going to happen. You need to have, but people who fly their drone one time and then it never comes home, they really don't fall in love with their drones. So analog has a new life breathed into it. And some would say, analog was never really on death's door. And I never said analog was on death's door. What I said was that the days of analog were numbered the day the first DJI system came out. That means that, that doesn't mean that the number of days will be small. It just means that, this is the thing that will finally, replace analog eventually. Yeah. But analog has had a resurgence, let's say. And now in the United States, DJI is on the crux of being, banned may be too strong of a word, not being able to get any more FCC licenses, so new stuff can't come in, which sort of if new stuff can't come in, but the old stuff still is usable, eventually the old stuff, in 2 years, the old stuff will be obsolete. There won't be any new stuff to replace it. So in a way, that's a ban. It's an effective ban, but it's not an immediate, you cannot use it now. I feel like I find myself looking at analog more and more and just going, this is a bunch of bullshit. I'll just fly analog. Forget about it. I did a little sketch about that in the last live stream. Hopefully that's going to go up on the Livestream Clips channel. And it'll be, hopefully it'll be, I really do want someone to animate that. Anybody, get some AI to animate that, Yeah, or hire an artist. I don't know, one of the two. I mean, clearly I don't give a shit about paying people for their craftsmanship. I bought a clone Chinese watch, so I would just clearly take candy from a baby too, right? Obviously, one follows from the other. Is analog still worth it in 2026? Yes, it's more worth it than ever. Because, I mean, in my opinion, DJI was the clear, obviously that's the star student if you want a digital system. Except for racing. And Walksnail was we have DJI at home. Well, Walksnail had some things that they offered that DJI didn't. High-powered video transmitter, good low light. There were some niche ways that Walksnail competed. Like Sun Tzu says, attack where your enemy is weak. And Walksnail was kind of finding the gaps in DJI's product offering. But where DJI focused their attention, DJI was dominant. And so it was all right, well, that's clearly what I want. Now I can't have what I want. So I'm just fine, I'll just fly analog. Screw you. Analog setup. I currently, my video transmitter of choice, there are two video transmitters that I am using on analog builds. One of them is the GepRC Maten. Ooh, comes in red and silver. Lottie frickin' da. GepRC Maten. There's even there's a higher output one. This is the 5.8, 2.5 watt. There's even a higher output one. 2.5 watt. Here's the 3 watt. Well, that's a few more watts, I guess. Same form factor. Why not? I like that the Maten has a fan built in. I like that the Maten has a very clear readout. Very clear readout of band, channel, and power with separate LEDs and an easy-to-access button. Now, you shouldn't ever need to use the button because you should be using smart audio or tramp telemetry, whichever. But it's nice that it's there. This is a solid video transmitter, especially if you feel like you want a fan. The other one that I go to is the TBS Unify Pro 32 DP. There was an issue with the DP where the DP would fry itself if the antenna disconnected. It would just destroy itself. They fixed that issue. It was when they first came out. This is a really solid video transmitter. The DP also, not that this is legal, DP also goes down to 4.9 gigahertz. if you are the kind of person who needs to make use of that. So it supports low band. The GEPRC Maten also does support low band down to like 5300 megahertz, but not 4.9 gigahertz, 4900 megahertz, whatever. It doesn't matter for a hobbyist, because a hobbyist shouldn't be doing any of that anyway, but it is notable that that capability is there. Both of these very good video transmitters. The Pro 32, a little more compact, and great price. The GEPRC Maten got a fan on board, a little less compact, a little easier to use. Those are my video transmitters of choice. As far as goggles go, HDZero goggles 2. I first of all, and before anybody, I love being accused of shilling. I purchased these for myself. If I had bought them, if I had been given them for review, my opinion would still be the same. But in case that matters to you, I always do like to point out when I spent my own money. Spent my own money on these. In fact, I liked them so much I bought a backup set in case my first set goes down. Because you don't want to be without goggles. So I actually have bought 2 of these. I like them so much. It's a fantastic analog device. You can watch my review of the HDZero goggles V2.
When HDZero,
if you want to know more about what I liked about them so much, it's an hour long, so don't watch the whole thing. Just because I was like, well, since people may be new to the goggles, let's just go through some things that you might already know as a more experienced person. The things that they're good at, the things, etc. A little flight test. Anyway. But as far as analog goes, I was really impressed. So this is some HDZero stuff, but there's stuff in here as to why they're very, very good for analog. And the bottom line is that the analog performance is very good. Where's my flight test? How good is the internal analog receiver?
now we come to what, for me at least, is
Look at me putting this right at the beginning of the video, because I knew that's what you want to see.
the most interesting part of this video, and that
What kind of YouTuber puts the most interesting part of the video right at the beginning? I'm watching out for you.
is which again, TBS Fusion in its Germany. There is
Yada, yada, yada.
Physics.
Just show you guys the
Down
testers.
here to the side, we are leaving the patch antenna and we are on the Omni antenna. And we see that the Fusion module does better because it has diversity, whereas the V2 goggle does not have an Omni, it only has a patch. And the same thing here. Although the V2 goggle does a pretty good job of hanging in there, considering that it is facing exactly the wrong direction with its antenna. Whoa, Bardwell, don't crash, don't crash. As we come around here, we are back on the patch antenna, and they are pretty comparable. We're going to go down the road now, and once again, we are going to leave the patch antenna
summer.
and the
Look at
Omni
the sun,
antenna.
so high
They're
in the
both
sky.
going to get weak. We're going to get so far away, we're just going to see how they do when that happens. And here's where it gets interesting. Notice the way that the Fusion module breaks up. It's not just going to static, but we're getting these white streaky lines. That's the result of the Fusion algorithm trying to combine the signal between the two. And here, the V2 goggle simply gets weak and staticky, whereas the Fusion gets all weird and distorted. This is a thing that Fusion modules, not just the TBS Fusion, but all of them, rapid fire, etc., they do. And here, the Fusion module is completely unusable, whereas the V2 goggle is weak but staticky, and the Fusion literally blacks out. Wow. This was fascinating. It was so weird to me to find. Keep in mind, I didn't see this while I was flying. It's so weird to me right this minute to see that there are times when it's better to just have a single antenna, not trying to do any fancy.
Anyway, so that's my go-to analog goggle in 2025. Now, if you don't want to buy that because it's too expensive, the SkyZone Sky 040 Pro or 04X Pro are less expensive. I think they're a little bit worse as a goggle. They're not bad, but I think the HDZero is better. Yeah. How are we doing? Anything to add, Blunty, from the comments? Anything I've overlooked?
Not in particular.
Okay. Okay. There was another question. It was a related question. I'm not going to hit it too hard, but it was another question. What's the best system for a new person getting into FPV? I think that for a new person getting into FPV, it's easy to say just go analog. It's a safe choice. The problem is if you spend $500, $700 on a set of analog goggles and then you decide you want to go Walksnail, then you're going to be out that money, and that's not ideal. You know, the thing is, analog is it's easy to get into analog at a low price point, kind of feel out what you like, and then branch out other directions. So, I would say you won't go wrong with analog. You may I want to go with Walksnail because it's going to give me better video. I think you got to do your research, and I don't think there's a single right answer. If you're serious about racing, it's going to be analog or HDZero, depending on how much money you want to spend. I think that's much more clear-cut. Either of them is good. HDZero is better. It's just a question of whether you want to spend the money. The nice thing is that if you're a racer, if you can spend the money on the HDZero goggles, then boom, you're good to go, right? Analog or HDZero, you have a great solution. If you're not a racer, then the question is analog or Walksnail. And you didn't ask about DJI. I assume that's because you're in the United States and you don't want to take a risk on DJI getting banned and then you can't get it. So between analog and Walksnail for fun flying, I think it's a question of your budget. I don't think either of them is the wrong choice. It's just, can you afford the Walksnail video transmitters? I don't think you're going to be disappointed in Walksnail. Walksnail is fine as a daily driver. But when you kill a video transmitter or you kill a camera, you're going to be spending more money. So there's no one right answer. It's really a question of your budget. Is there a good sim other than Liftoff? Any recommendations? Yes. Okay, so if you're into racing, Velocidrone is just the one, especially 5-inch racing. Velocidrone is, you can do all kinds of stuff with Velocidrone. They've got all these add-ons where there's even one where you do like FPV dogfighting of drones, but Velocidrone really excels at 5-inch drone racing. However, honestly, there are a million sims, and any of them are good. So, like, for example, Trip FPV. None of them are bad. Oh my god, Trip FPV, they emulated no shit, I've seen this footage live, the real footage. Holy crap. See, it makes me want, I think I already own Trip. It makes me want to fly this map, and I want to chase, one of the things Trip does is it lets you chase wingsuit divers, parachutists, it lets you chase all these things. This looks amazing. What spot is this? I don't know. Like, oh, I want to play some Trip. Yeah. Right? It's got that going for it. What else have we got? Uncrashed. That's a good one. Uncrashed. Uncrashed, I think, like, not as much good for racing. I didn't like the track layouts for racing. I found it a little meh. But some of the environments, very good, right? Chase cars, very good. Big maps, very good. What else we got? FPV Skydive. That one's actually free. Well, why not? It's free. Download it. Try it out. There are DLCs you can get for it. None of them are bad. There's a new one. What's the new one? There was a new one. I can't remember the name of it. The Zone FPV Drone Simulator. I haven't even heard of this. Oh, yes, I have. This is the one that dude uses who makes the tutorials, and there's a keyboard shortcut where you can replay the drone's path. That's hot. Basically, you hit record and stop record or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works. I've just seen him do it. And basically, then you can fly in third person and see the drone's path through the sky in like little screenshots, so you can actually see what the drone was doing. The levels look a little bit like the 3D textures aren't as robust, but very cool. Like, they're all so cool. And I'm just like throwing names at you, you know? Let's see, what else? What are some good ones I've missed? AI Drone Simulator. Never heard of that. What is that? Is it any good? I don't know. Never heard of it. Oh, it's in my Steam library. Okay. I guess they must have given me a key for a gift key. Did I try it out? Have I ever played it? Do I have any hours on this? I'm so sorry. AI Drone Simulator. AI. Hello. Hello. No, games. AI.
We talked about this for the news years ago.
Is that why I have it?
Yeah, it's the one that can
57
do
minutes of
the
playtime.
black box analysis in the game.
Oh, that's the one that lets... Yeah, okay, I remember that. You upload your black box logs and it tries to make your drone fly like your real drone. Yeah. Liftoff micro drones. I've been playing this with my son recently. He's been getting into it. Very nice, very fun micro simulator. Really good levels. Really enjoy them. In use by your Steam. He is playing it right now. Very nice. I had a really cool experience. I like to fly in acro mode, but the Liftoff micro drones loads them in like horizon in auto level mode by default. So he was flying in auto level mode. And I had been flying and I changed it to acro, and he was like, "Hey, how do I change this back?" And I said, "Just press the A key. Just press the A key. You might have to press it a couple times until it gets back to the mode you expect." Because I couldn't remember what order the modes came in. I was just like, press the A key until the drone flies like you want it to fly. And a few minutes later, he shouts from the other room and he goes, "If you put it in 3D, then you can..." He basically describes how 3D mode works. He's like, "If you can fly upside down." I'm like, "Did you just figure that out all on your own?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can flip upside down and you can bounce off the ceiling." I'm like, "God dang, this kid is smart." Anyway. So those are some sims you can try out. Got a $5 super chat here from Notice FPV and another $5 super chat. Saw Stinger Swarm talking about the nuclear fusion race timer. I found a $700 timer. That can't be what he's talking about. No. I mean, is there someone selling nuclear fusion for $700? I don't know. Here is one for 650 Swiss francs. Oh my gosh. So I don't know why someone is selling this for $700 or 700 Swiss francs. That is, I don't know how it could possibly be that expensive. But Blunty, you had a link. You can buy, you can make your own, first of all. So here is Nuclear Hazard Fission. So the Fission is $225, and that is the small version. This is a 4-channel Fission. How much is an 8-channel? To go for the 8-channel. Why not? $280. Not that much more expensive. I can't remember what the difference is between the Nuclear Hazard Fusion and the Fission. Honestly, I don't remember. And that's pre-made $280, which when you add up all the price of the parts, that's pretty reasonable. Obviously, you can do it cheaper for yourself at the expense of your own time. I believe I have a setup guide for Nuclear Hazard. Yeah, I've got a build video I did for the Nuclear Hazard. Yeah, and you can, if you want to build it yourself, you can follow my tutorial. Here's the title. Your drone racing club needs this FPV lap timer Nuclear Hazard. I built my own. These days, I think I've heard that with the memory shortage, Raspberry Pis are getting more expensive. So that's too bad. Or you can just pay someone to do it yourself. You know, it's save a little bit of money. But yeah, no, it's not $700. I highly, highly recommend, if you are serious about racing, build one of these or buy one. You don't absolutely need it, but my gosh, it is so nice to be able to just quick set it up and then boop, you know, and just have your times read off. And if you have a group of people where you're not flying by yourself, so worth it. It's really good. However, I do want to point out, there is an Android app. Yeah, that's it. There's an Android app called the FPV Sim Drone Racing Timer. Is that it? No. This is not it. That's not the one. It uses a camera. This dude sent me lap tracks. What is it? Lap tracks, is that it?
That is saying tiny FPV timer.
Is that it? Or lap tracks I want to acknowledge. That may not be the one I'm thinking of, but it does exist. Tiny FPV timer. That sounds right. Yes, that's the one. This dude actually sent me a key for this, and I installed it, and I recorded a video about it. And why didn't you see that video? Because the footage was corrupted, and I never went back and reshot it, so I'm a bad person. But this is pretty cool, and is it free? I don't know. Seems like it's free. Basically, what it does is it uses your phone camera to detect when the drone passes through the... Oh, that's terrible. It uses your... There we go. It uses your phone camera to detect when the drone passes through the gate. So if you're flying by yourself, like doing RayScow or something, you don't need to spend any money. You just need a phone. You set your phone up. Works really well. I still think the nuclear hazard has some other advantages, but this is very, very simple and very easy, and it's really good. So there you go. I don't know why someone is selling nuclear hazard for 750 Swiss francs. I guess everything is more expensive in Switzerland. We got another super chat here from Space Invader. Thank you for $2 Canadian. Happy birthday, BlizzardFPV. Happy birthday, BlizzardFPV. Here's a question from Viper Kanakunda, who says, I'm new to FPV and I'm learning line of sight flying. Any tips? It's hard for me to do turns. I'm able to fly forward and backwards. Should I learn this or just use goggles? So I think that a small amount of line of sight flying is good to have. It's nice to be able to just line of sight hover a drone to test it. I've also had situations where I wanted to do some throttle pumps, like a drone was maybe doing some weird things, and it was easier just to take it off, hover it, and go and drop the throttle and let it fall and catch it. Basic stuff like that. Maybe the ability to take off and do a flip and come back down again. But I do all my line of sight flying nose out. Nose out. As soon as we start turning the drone, if I'm in angle mode, I can kind of do it. So I used to fly line of sight planes when I first got into RC. I have a small amount of experience flying line of sight. Well, but the advantage of planes is a plane is always facing forward and moving forward. Drones can move sideways. If the drone is in angle mode, then I know when I push pitch forward, the drone moves forward, right? If a drone is in acro mode, it could be moving any direction. It's really easy to get out of control and lose orientation in acro mode. I have had one time in my life where I was flying a drone and I lost video, and I lifted my goggles up and I flipped it into angle mode and I flew it back line of sight and saved it. Okay. So a little bit of line of sight is beneficial. I would say if you want to learn to do it in angle mode first so that push forward and you can easily level back out again. That's the thing. With acro mode, it can be hard to level back out again if you lose orientation. With angle mode, as soon as you center the stick, you level back out again. You don't have to. It's easier to maintain orientation. Flying line of sight is a challenge. Like, there are recommendations. There are ways to do it. You start nose out and you make boxes nose out, right? And then you turn the drone nose in and you make boxes, right? And the controls are reversed, right? And you just practice. And then eventually you do boxes sideways, right? Boxes the other way. You just work on doing boxes. And then eventually you start to learn how to turn, and it starts to kind of make sense. But ultimately, being a good line of sight pilot does not make you a good FPV pilot. It is a secondary skill. Like, I've had some people I've taught how to fly who struggled with throttle control. And when I put them line of sight and they could see the drone in front of them climbing and descending, it locked it in for them in a way that it didn't lock in for them when they were flying FPV. So sometimes it can make a difference, but ultimately being a good line of sight pilot doesn't make you a better FPV pilot or vice versa. It's a secondary skill that is a good skill to have. But I've met some people who said, I'm going to be a very good line of sight pilot before I even put my FPV goggles on. And like, it felt like they were kind of like, I'm going to eat all my broccoli before I have any ice cream. And it's like, it's not like that. Develop that skill if you want to develop that skill. It does have some benefits, but it's not like you need one skill to do the other. If I like both planes and drones, is Walksnail the way to go with head tracking? Walksnail, yeah, I mean, if you want to do head tracking, Walksnail supports head tracking through the goggles. HDZero has wireless head tracking with the ExpressLRS backpack. Ryan Quellet has demonstrated that, and obviously Analog can do head tracking as well. So really, you could do head tracking with any of those systems. You could even do head tracking with DJI as long as you're not using the DJI RC controller as your control link, as long as you're using like ExpressLRS as your control link. So I think you can do head tracking with any of those systems. I don't think it pushes you one way or the other. Got a super chat here from More Aerial Productions. Thank you for $5, More Aerial Productions. What do I need to change or do to fly my Hyson 8S on 6S? Tried to fly it yesterday, it just beeps and won't arm. No, it should not be under voltage. An 8S drone should absolutely fly on 6S, no problem. It'll be a little bit underpowered, but it should still fly. It just beeps and it won't arm. You need to go into Betaflight Configurator and get the arming status code. That's what you need to do. No one can tell you why it won't arm without getting the arming status code. It'll be either in the on-screen display, in the warning OSD element, or in Betaflight Configurator in the setup tab. There's an arming status code. You need to get that code, and that will tell you why it won't arm. I can't imagine what that reason is. A drone made for 8S versus 6S, the only difference is that the motors are slightly lower kV, and the ESC and the flight controller are rated to handle 8S voltage, but they should absolutely run no problem on 6S, just be a little bit underpowered. Do you think open source digital systems like Ruby and OpenIPC will catch up to where DJI is now? No. Nope. And before you think that this is somewhere out there, Mario FPV is like, oh, he's raging right now. He's typing something on Telegram. Take a breath. This is not a slam on Ruby and OpenIPC or whatever. It's just that no one has caught up to where no one in the world has caught up to where DJI is. Sorry. There goes Bardwell doing something vulgar to DJI's anatomy that I won't say because I'm keeping it family friendly. There goes Bardwell. DJI again. Shut up. They're the best. Hey, you know what? Hot take, everybody. I feel like Kobe was a pretty good basketball player. Interesting. Is? Kobe, yeah, he died. Okay, want to make sure I had the right basketball player. I feel like he was a pretty good, maybe even one of the best. Oh, wow, hot take. Like, love DJI or hate them, they make the best technology for drones. They just do. Nobody does it better than them in, like, almost any way. That's that's not even a hot take. That's like a fact. Maybe you could come up with somebody who does one thing as good as them. I don't think really anybody does it better. And the breadth of things they do better than everyone else is extraordinary. So when I say that OpenIPC will not catch up with DJI, that's not a slam on OpenIPC. It's just that no one has caught up with DJI. Not people who've put millions and millions of dollars into developing their technology. So, pardon the F out of me if I don't think an open source project is going to do it. Well, ExpressLRS. What about ExpressLRS? It's the best. It is the best. It is a lot easier to build a very, very good... The thing is, ExpressLRS is built on the Semtech LoRa chip. And a huge amount of what makes ExpressLRS successful is the work of the open source developers and the work of the manufacturers who make the hardware. Absolutely. But without that LoRa chip, the things that make ExpressLRS dominant, I think that they wouldn't exist. The ExpressLRS is built on this amazing chip that it's so good at sending a small amount of data a very, very long way. Okay? And it just so happens that chip is very, very good at making an RC control link when you tell it what to do. And then the ExpressLRS devs come along and tell it what to do. They contribute everything they contribute. There isn't such a thing for FPV video today, I think. I mean, I'm certainly could be wrong, but if there was, where is it? We've got this new technology from Cadix, from Walksnail, the new Ascent system. And it's based on this chipset from a company called Artisan, Artosyn, Artisan. That is the equivalent of the Semtech LoRa chip in ExpressLRS. Guess what? It's not as good as what DJI is doing. The hardware is fundamentally inferior to what DJI does. And I know there's people in the OpenIPC project who say we could get much better without dedicated hardware. Okay, I believe you. Show me. Oh, I mean, there's just no question that a dedicated ASIC is going to give you lower latency, better power consumption, etc., etc., etc. So no, I don't think they're going to get there. I think they'll continue to get better. Maybe they'll get to a point where they're viable as a commercial solution. But no, they're not going to catch up with DJI because no one can. He hasn't ever tried OpenIPC. What are you talking about? You're not talking about me, are you? You're not talking about me. I have absolutely... do you watch my channel? I am currently not going to try OpenIPC again for a little while, because every time Emacs or RunCam puts out a new OpenIPC thing and they're, oh, try this, it's so much better. And I try it and it's a little bit better, but it's still not very good. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this 6 months or a year before I look back at it and see where it's come. I'm tired of making videos about it and being like, yeah, it's better. It still sucks. And then all the OpenIPC people come out of the woodwork and are like, no, you don't understand. When I use it, it's wonderful. In fact, there's one of the OpenIPC devs. Actually, I shouldn't credit it. I'm not sure exactly how to credit this person, but he said, I will hand build you an OpenIPC receiver so you get the full experience. And then he wasn't able to ship it to me because of problems with international shipping in the United States and customs and all that nonsense. So somewhere the true OpenIPC experience is waiting for me as soon as I'm able to get a package delivered from this guy. And then we'll find out what I've been missing this whole time.
While we're at it, do you want to talk about the Betaflight thing? Because they announced it.
Yeah. What is it? Artlink? Yeah. So Betaflight has a new system. A new video system. Let's see. Can I zoom in? It's basically a new video system reminiscent of Walksnail Ascent. It also has an Artisan chip in it. Maybe it's the same Artisan chip as the Ascent. It is not cross-compatible with the Walksnail Ascent, so yay fragmentation. $350 milliwatt video transmitter. I have this on the way to look at. Betaflight is sending it to me. I'm curious to see how good it is. I've flown the Aquila before. Where's the stuff about the video system, though? The goggles, light radio, yada, yada, yada. Where's the stuff about the video system? That's just the Aquila.
You just mentioned at the top that it's...
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Aquila, FPV, the RO4 goggles, video transmission power. I've heard it advertised as 60 milliseconds latency, which is like not good. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So we got to try it. Long story short, BetaFPV has their own FPV video system based on similar or the same artisan chipset as the Caddx Ascent, but not compatible and developed by or in partnership with BetaFPV. And we'll see how it works. Here we go. We got
That's
this.
what we were looking at was the Aquila 20 HD. Also, yeah, you want to pull the other one up, which is the Start RC one? Oh, okay.
So we got this low latency. Low latency is not 60 millis. That's not low latency. I mean, not for an FPV system. Good for you. 60 milliseconds. It's flyable, but it's not great. I have a theory about these. Hang on, I'll tell you my theory in a minute. Roberito says, it's interesting. Caddx is saying 3 kilometers on 100 milliwatts with the Ascent. BetaFPV is giving a more realistic 400 meters on 200 milliwatts. Here's the thing. I mean, they could have tuned them differently, right? I got surprising range. I didn't get 3 kilometers, but I got surprising range out of the Caddx Ascent system, considering its 100 milliwatt output. I was like, oh, I'm kind of impressed with the range I got.
I'll tell you, Caddx's numbers are real numbers they have gotten and tested on wings in real testing.
I believe it. Just based on my experience with the Ascent system, I believe it.
I believe they got up to 16 kilometers on the 100 milliwatt VTX on a wing out in open air testing.
Yeah.
So like you can do, I mean, you're not going to get that in freestyle. It's not going to be high, like quality video. It's going to be very framey, like all those kind of things, right? Yeah. The other thing, if you scroll up in the Discord, somebody put a link for the Start RC VT5, which is another Artisan link that is coming out. It seems like Artisan has made a push to get companies to build with the link.
So the way it seems to me is that Artisan has this toolkit framework similar to the low rod chip from Semtech. And they're pushing it out and saying, who wants to build a video link based on this? And all these companies are doing it. And they're all sort of tweedling the knobs in different ways, you know, and making their own hardware. Of course, it would be better, again, Express LRS, it would be better if there was one standard and people, you know, it was all based on the same hardware, but everybody was making cross-compatible firmware. That doesn't seem to be what they're doing. The flip side is you've got Caddx tuning it one way, and you got BetaFPV tuning it another way, and Caddx seems to be getting ridiculously long range. So maybe actually it's good that we've got this fragmentation because it's resulting in competition. You know, competition that, let's face it, digital video systems have never had as much competition as they maybe could have. Because you got such a high barrier to entry. You got DJI, and then you got Walksnail, right? And who else is making a system like that? I'm setting aside HDZero, which is a digital system, but it doesn't compete with Walksnail and DJI. It focuses on latency. It doesn't retransmit. It's broadcast-based. It's kind of like more competing with analog in a way. Nobody else did that because nobody else could really do it in a commercially viable way. So basically, you had Walksnail and DJI. Not much competition. Now we've got 3 companies making a video system, and maybe there'll be some competition and some tuning and some evolution. I have a theory. So, like, what's the point of these systems? Yeah, Monty, go ahead.
Sorry, Roka, I just want to say, Unreality FPV says Start RC for some reason denies it being based on Artisan. So just to be clear, we don't know for sure, but I've been told by multiple sources that it is Artisan, and it seems to be Artisan, just so you know. Okay,
well, I mean, maybe they're lying or maybe there's something more to it. I mean, you could just try to look at the chip, right? I mean, I guess you're never going to know for sure. I mean, they're gonna laser off the, like, anyway, who knows? Acknowledged. Here's my theory. One of the things that really stands out about the Walksnail Ascent system is it's like $35 for the VTX and the camera. It's so inexpensive. It's ridiculously inexpensive. So we've got a system that is ridiculously inexpensive, has very long range, and has moderate latency. Huh, what use case could that possibly be? No, it's not racing. That you really need low latency. It's not freestyle bando bashing because like proximity flying, you really want low latency. Huh, what? Well, long range flying in the air. Yeah, that 60 milliseconds is fine for a long range wing. Huh, what else? What could benefit from a really inexpensive, middling latency? Who's flying a lot of long-range flights right now and needs to buy thousands and thousands of video transmitters? I don't know who that could possibly be. Okay, so like so many things in FPV these days, my theory is that this makes sense if you imagine that their actual goal is to wink, sell to Ukraine or other military consumers, although they can't do that legally, so it has to be, for hobbyists or they'll get in trouble with the Chinese government. But really, this hobbyist just ordered 5,000 of these video transmitters. Wow, they really must like flying. Oh well, cash that check. I don't know.
Remember, it's industry. Remember, we looked at the industry versions of the hardware.
Industry.
That's what they called them.
Industry, yeah.
The 4-watt. If anybody doesn't remember, we looked at on a previous live stream at some manuals for a 4-watt Ascent VTX for the industry, and then instead of industry VRX, like an industry VRX.
Yeah. So the reason this matters is not just like speculation about the reason it matters is that you as a hobbyist look at this new product, and me as a reviewer look at this product, and we say, how does this apply to the hobbyist? And I look at the Ascent system and I go, kind of don't see how it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like it's for hobbyists. And then hobbyists are like, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? And if you always have in the back of your head that some of these products are not targeted at you, it is a lie that they're targeted at you because selling directly to the military, you can't do that legally in China, right? These companies have to have a cover. So they're like, oh, we're selling to industry. Oh, we're selling to hobbyists. Or, oh, I don't know who we're selling to. We just shipped stuff out the door. And as long as we have plausible deniability, we can keep operating. Some of this stuff just isn't for you. It's just a cover that but they market it to you. They market it as if it was for hobbyists, and you get confused because you're like, it doesn't seem like this is for hobbyists. Am I crazy? Am I out of touch? It's like, no, they're marketing it to hobbyists, but it's not really for you. Sometimes. I'm sorry. Is this like, y'all know this, right? Like, I'm not like, spilling the beans. I'm not like, okay. Just, you have to be reminded. Anyway. How do I update EdgeTX on my Radiomaster TX16S? Can I, we're not going to go over this on the live stream. I would just like to refer you to my EdgeTX 101 Complete Beginner Guide. This is a playlist. If you just search Joshua Bardwell EdgeTX Complete Beginner Guide, just search that on YouTube. Video number 2, how to flash/update firmware, shows you exactly how to do it. So I just want to tell you that this playlist exists. Ricardo Penders. EdgeTX 101 Complete Beginner Guide. Find that playlist. Video 2 is what you want. Boom. Let's see here. What else we got? Did you see Ryan Quellet's video on HDZero range? No. 4 days ago, FPV range.
Hey everybody, today we're going to go over how to get the best range out of systems like Analog, HDZero, and DiviMath. I'll be covering some things that are pretty obvious.
It's a 25-minute video, so we're not going to watch the whole thing. Long story short, and I haven't watched... Put chapters in your video, Ryan. Put chapters in your video, dude. Come on. You need chapters. You need chapter markers. What this video covers. Timestamps. There should be timestamps right here, and then we would get chapter markers in the video. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. Do you, everything Ryan says is, that's not the right screenshot to freeze on. Everything Ryan says is correct, technically. Ryan knows his shit, and I have never known Ryan to say anything technically questionable. Like, I've never heard Ryan say something and gone, yeah, well, but... Like, so I just give him the complete benefit of the doubt that everything he says in here is correct. I'm sure that lots of people don't do the things that he recommends and still have okay range, right? So, because we know that a lot of people have okay range right now, and they're just slapping drones together. So, like, I wouldn't consider these things to be necessarily, like, mandatory, but especially if you don't have good range, these things may be the things that are causing you to get worse range, and they may be best practices, okay? Can the VTX antenna coax interfere with the VTX by routing it along the outer housing? I know what you're talking about. This is where you... Let me see if I can find the section. Chapter markers!
Top part of the board here where the UFL is the most sensitive to interference from being close to other things like carbon fiber plate. So what you want to do is optimally keep a clearance gap of, I think, 3 or 4.
So I think what he's getting at is that the video transmitter can pick up interference off the antenna coax. That is a fact. Antenna coax still radiates some signal, even though it's grounded and so forth, and it shouldn't radiate. Theoretically, it does radiate some signal. And also, you don't want things like carbon fiber, he's saying, near there. To me, this is an issue specifically with the HDZero video transmitter. Like, the HDZero video transmitter is particularly susceptible to interference. I don't know why, and this is just my opinion. Ever since I've been working with HDZero, every time I release a video, this goes mostly back to, hey, speaking of best practices, maybe don't put a right angle. You know, he knows this. I don't know why there's a right angle here. I assume he just didn't have another antenna to use. Like, it's always like, you were standing too close to your Wi-Fi access point. You had your, like, I've been told that if you have your radio in your hands and the radio is at 1 watt, it can interfere with the goggles. And you see interference in the goggles because the radio is too powerful. So turn your Express LRS radio down to 250 milliwatts or lower. And I'm like, okay, but I don't have to do any of that shit when I fly DJI Walksnail or analog. So, like, it feels to me like the HDZero system is particularly susceptible to external interference. So be it. As far as passing the coax back over or something like that, like, I'm sure that it would be better if you didn't, but I don't think it's a major issue for other systems. But technically, is it happening? Yes. What he's describing absolutely does happen. Thank you. Just watching 1210 for a $2 super chat. Beginner setup and trustworthy place to buy from. You know, I'm going to recommend the Joshua Bardwell beginner drone kit from GetFPV. It is a kit specifically made for a beginner to learn to build and configure their drone. And GetFPV is a trustworthy place to buy from. But Bardwell, you're only recommending that because your name is on it and you get money when people buy it. I do. But I'm actually recommending it because I sat down with Lumineer and I helped design a kit specifically for beginners. And I made it exactly the best way that I think it needed to be. And I made a tutorial video series that walks you through every step of setting it up so that a beginner could hopefully follow. And now hundreds and hundreds of beginners have gone through this and flown their first drone with my tutorial. So yes, I am recommending it. Yes, I get money when you buy it, but I'm recommending it because I made it the best and I think it's the best. And then in exchange for doing that, I get a little bit of money. So you do what you want. Keep doing your thing, JB. Thank you. I will. In fact, I couldn't stop. RizFPV, thanks for being a patron, Riz, and joining the Discord server. RizFPV wants to know, what are the disadvantages of a plus frame, besides prop wash in the FPV view. So as far as aerodynamics and aero whatever goes, a plus frame, I think it's going to fly like the same as an X frame. I don't think there's any significant difference in how it flies. I don't think it matters to the flight controller where the motors are on the axis of rotation. But I do like a plus frame. When you go nose into something, you're going to hit a motor dead on. To me, that seems bad. As opposed to like having the motors be, I guess then you hit the camera. I don't know. Yeah. As far as how it flies, I don't think it really matters. I've flown plus frames. I don't think it really, like, you get, you know, they're equal sort of rotation. Do you get like more pure rotation on the pitch and roll axis because there's less motor mixing? Maybe. Mostly just that's not how people are building frames, I think. I don't know. Super Guy wants to know, I saw an old video of JB with a strong opinion on things that ruin drone builds. Do you still consider titanium as inferior versus steel or stainless for hardware on a carbon framed quad? Yeah, the issue with titanium is it's lightweight, but depending on the exact alloy of titanium you get, it can be much more brittle. Like I've had people who replace steel screws with titanium screws and the screws shear off. It really depends on which alloy of titanium you get. I'm sure there are some alloys of titanium that are stronger than steel. I don't know. But in general, my experience is that titanium is more brittle. When you swap your steel screws for titanium, they're more likely to break. You save weight, but they're more likely to break. So I would say before you just go buy titanium M3 screws, you should do research on the exact alloys of titanium you're getting. And then you should make sure you're getting one that has the sort of strength. The issue is that steel is ductile, right? So steel has a little bit of give to it. So when it takes an impact, it doesn't just shatter. And titanium, at least the alloys that I've seen used, doesn't have that quality. And so titanium takes a hit, and then eventually it just pops. Is it worth the hassle of updating a pre-built 5-inch with GPS to get position hold? I mean, sure. Depends on how you want. Like, if it's just a freestyle drone, a racing drone, I don't care about position hold. I'm probably not going to bother. Sounds like you want position hold, so you should go through the hassle of updating it. Have you seen the new HDZero battery pack? Yeah. This is a new battery pack from HDZero. Battery case. Very cool thing. Very cool. I don't know why it's on AliExpress. That's kind of weird. I guess they're selling through AliExpress. Fine. The HDZero battery pack. It's 21700 batteries. Yes. You put two 21700s in there. It's made to run your goggles off of. And it has an SD card reader in it. Which, when I first saw this, I was like, well, that's weird. But here's the logic. Ryan Quellet, go away. Go away. I don't care about your... Go away. The theory is, you get done flying, you take your SD card out of your goggles, you put it in your battery pack, and you plug in and you read all your footage off the SD card. And then you forget to grab your SD card out of the reader. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone to fly, and I get my goggles, and I'm like, my SD card is still down in the SD card reader. And I have to run back downstairs, get an SD card out of the computer, plug it into my goggles. The idea is you're not going to forget your battery. So your battery is your SD card reader. Your SD card goes in the battery. You read the files off the SD card, and then when you forget your SD card, it's in your battery pack. Put it in your goggles. Because you're not going to forget your battery. That's the theory. Very clever. The question is, would you charge inside the battery pack, or would you take them out to charge it? I would I assume that they've done a good job because HDZero makes good stuff. And I assume that it is a fine charger. It has USB-C charging, automatic cell balancing. Yeah, absolutely. I would not ever take these cells out. I would charge them in here 100%. 100%. Love this question from Lord Shax. In your opinion, is ArduPilot or INAV better for a PixHawk 6X build with Arduino integration? If you're doing Arduino integration, PixHawk, ArduPilot all the way. Can INAV even run on a PixHawk 6X flight controller? Maybe it can. That would be news to me, but maybe it can. But if you're doing Arduino integration, if you're doing any kind of integration of a companion computer, I think ArduPilot is going to be more robust. Yeah. Now, could you program the Arduino to interface with the flight controller via MSP or even by emulating the RC input? Yes, you could. But it's going to be so much more mature to do that with ArduPilot. ArduPilot, the thing is, with ArduPilot, the whole time you're flying, you have a Mavlink connection to the flight controller. And you can do anything to the flight controller that you need to, just through that Mavlink connection. With iNav or Betaflight, iNav has some Mavlink support, but it's pretty minimal. So, if you wanted to, add a waypoint to a waypoint mission while you were in flight, Betaflight doesn't even do waypoint missions. iNav's not going to let you do that. ArduPilot is. So ArduPilot is so much more mature. And I'm not even sure that ArduPilot or that iNav can run on a PixHawk flight controller, PixHawk 6X flight controller. How long until you're testing any of the new digital VTXs like the ArtLink or the Star C VT5? So I have the Betaflight ArtLink on the way to me. I've already tested the Caddx Walksnail Ascent. Just based on the specs, I think it's very clear that these are not going to be for your typical FPV drone pilot. The latency is too high. Betaflight advertises 60 milliseconds latency, and suffice it to say that their advertised spec is it's not going to be better than that. It's going to be worse, or maybe the same. So when they're advertising 60 milliseconds, the real life performance is going to start at 60 and go down from there. That latency is too high for proximity flying or racing. It's not a replacement for something like the Walksnail video system, HDZero, or analog. How many hours on the sim should I spend before buying my first quad? It takes most people 5 to 10 hours on the sim before they become competent at flying and are able to safely fly their first quad. Are they great pilots? Some of them are. And those people can go to hell. Most people, the thing I want to see from you as a student before I let you fly a real quad is that you are able to take off and fly around without crashing into things, mostly in control. I want to see, there's a thing that beginners do where they take off and they start flying and, oh, the drone's going faster and faster and faster and faster, and they can't get it back. Or they're flying and they enter a turn, and when they turn, the drone kind of goes like this. Oh, and they're trying to correct it, and they get out of control. And I want to see you basically be able to stay in control. I want to know that when you're flying a real drone, you're not going to just plow it into an obstacle. Obviously crashing happens, but you're not just going to plow it into a tree. You're not going to lose control, fly it over the woods, disarm it into the woods, and then, or God forbid, over a populated area, you're going to fly outside the boundaries of the field and disarm over somebody's house or over a street. Basically, I just want to know that you're going to bring the drone home again. You're not going to smash it into anything. And once you can do that, I'm fine. Go, fly the real thing. Enjoy. Could you get better if you kept flying in the sim? Sure, maybe. That takes most people, like some people. My son, my older son, I was talking about my younger son earlier. My older son, once upon a time, was like, hey, let me try a drone simulator. I was like, yeah, cool. And he immediately was good at it, just instantly. He'd been flying helicopters in Battlefield, and apparently flying helicopters in Battlefield is kind of like flying an FPV drone. He was instantly putting in competitive times on race. I was like, yeah, well, here, take a racetrack. Let's see how you do when you have to fly through some gates. And like a half hour later, he was like, hey, I got a 23-second on that. I was like, I get it. I get a 21, you little punk. So anyway, he was just instantly good at it with no time in the sim. So, I mean, he's just ready to fly the real drone instantly. So it's not a number of hours. It's when you can fly the drone and not crash with reasonable certainty. That's when I would clear you to fly the real thing. What's your main transmitter that you use primarily and why? Radiomaster GX12 is my daily. I like the small size. I wish the gimbals were a little better. I would rather have AGO2 gimbals, but this is what it is. They're not terrible. And let's face it, I'm not that great of a pilot anyway. And I like that it's dual band, 900 and 2.4. Sometimes I'm flying aircraft that is a 900 receiver. Sometimes it's a 2.4, and I like the ability to go back and forth. You can really get that thing in a backpack very easily. Let's see here. Dr. L. Goog wants to know, I just finished building my first digital system, Walksnail, and I noticed that the antenna cables are too long. I have to basically coil them up. Can I buy any 5.8 gigahertz antenna, or are they special? You can buy any 5.8 gigahertz antenna. It needs to be circular polarized, so Walksnail comes left-hand circular polarized by default. So your goggles probably have left-hand circular polarized antennas. The polarization needs to match the goggles, and then the connector needs to match. So it needs to have a matching UFL connector or MMCX connector, whatever is on your video transmitter. I believe Walksnail has UFL connectors. So it needs to have a matching connector, and it needs to have matching polarity, and it needs to have matching frequency. But yeah, you could buy if I go shop by category, Race Day Quads has better filtering. I'm gonna go Race Day Quads. Shop all. Electronics. Goggles, ESCs, flight controllers, video transmitters, and antennas. Okay. So connector. We're going to look for UFL connector. UFL. None of that makes any sense. Jesus Christ. What are you talking about? How about polarization? What a motor bolt pattern. There's no motor bolt pattern. This is embarrassing. Shop all electronics, video antennas, left-hand circular polarized. There we go. That's got us somewhere. UFL, left-hand circular polarized UFL. So basically, there we go. 5.8 gigahertz, left-hand polarized UFL. Pick one that you like. Here, Caddx Polar. This is very similar to your Walksnail antennas that you already have. Honestly, though, like, I don't know how long those connectors are. If they're a little bit coiled up, it's not the end of the world. I wouldn't stress about it. It's hard for me to believe that the stock antennas are ridiculously long. So probably I would just leave it alone, but I don't know. How is the iFlight Borg Mini F7 stack? I have no idea. iFlight generally makes okay stuff because they put it in their bind and flies. And since they put it in their bind and flies, you know, if it was shit, their bind and flies would fall out of the air. So generally, iFlight is safe to buy. But sometimes they make weird design decisions. Like, for example, they might have a lot of plugs because their bind and flies use plugs, and they might not have as many solder pads as a hobbyist would want. And you'd be like, oh, hang on. So that's not for me. But generally, they're safe to buy, and their pricing is usually okay. Like this one, I'm not sure I love the fact that this uses a flat ribbon connector to go between the flight controller and the ESC. That's the kind of thing that, like, as a manufacturer, it's okay for you to do because you're just building a jillion of these things. Is it a flat ribbon or is it a standard plug? That was a, what was that? What was that? What's this connector here? What is that? I don't know. I got to look into it. Is this the one with the flat ribbon connector? I'm not sure. So you just want to look at it and see if there's anything like wacky about it. Does it have a standard plug? Am I like misreading this? What is this? What is this here? What is that? That looks like one of the flat ribbon connectors. Where's a manual? Give me a manual. Download center. Oh, here we go. Nope, nope, nope. Go back. Give me this one. What do we got here? Got a plug for DJI. So basically, you just got one plug with all the shit in it. No, here's one for the receiver. That's fine. Good. LED, fine. Yeah, see, I don't love this ribbon cable. I thought it was a ribbon cable. I don't love that. That's not going to be user maintainable. I don't think that's going to work well. I don't like it. I don't like it. I probably would not buy this based on that ribbon cable. Like, can I just have an SH connector? If that gets damaged, I can make an SH harness at home. I can't make. I have to just buy another one of those. Are there solder pads to back me up? Do I have the option of soldering this? Doesn't look like it. Basically, the minute this ribbon cable craps out for any reason, my stack is toast until I buy another one of that exact ribbon cable. Oh, hang on. Hang on. We do have solder pads. Okay, what about the flight controller? Does the flight controller have solder pads? Okay, can I? Yeah, there we go. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that them? Okay, there's solder pads to back it up. I still don't like it. I probably still wouldn't buy it, but at least, you know, credit where credit's due. It does look like it has solder pads to back up the plug if the cable gets damaged. But I want an SH connector. Silly. As far as specs and price go, it's probably fine. It's a little bit restrictive in terms of what you can plug into it because it's very small. So like you don't have a ton of UARTs you can solder to, but it's going to get done what you need to get done. Like for example, I got this UART for the receiver. I got this plug here for the video transmitter. What if I want to do a GPS? You got another UART for me? Nope. Doesn't look like so. Doesn't look like it. How about a GPS? You got anything? Show me GPS. Oh, shut up. Yes. Oh, it does have a GPS. Okay, fine. All right, I keep trying to hate it. It keeps being like just barely okay but I still kind of don't love it. Good enough? Devious One, thank you for a $10 super chat. I started my own whoop groups. I host small meets and have been having issues finding places to host indoors to host events. What advice do you have for a new race organizer? First of all, you have to be a certain kind of person. There are two people I've known in my life who were, I'm not sure if extremely charismatic is the right way. Let's put it this way. You're out with your bros and you see the security guard. You're just hanging out somewhere. Maybe you're in a parking lot. Maybe you're in a park. I don't know. You see the security guard coming your way. You see the store manager coming over. Which one of your bros is the one who goes to talk to him? You know that guy. The guy who, when he gets pulled over, the cop comes up and is like, "You know how fast you were going! I hate you!" And somehow, 45 seconds later, they're joking and having a good time, and the cop is like, "Oh, you go on, you have a good day, you don't do it again, you old little boss." You know, the kind of person who is going to just come up and immediately have rapport with a person and just be like, "Yeah, you're good," right? That guy. That's the guy who needs to go around. And what he does is he goes into a local restaurant. He goes into a local bar. He goes into a local pool hall. A place like that. A place where people congregate. A place where people spend money. And where maybe people wouldn't mind a tiny whoop smashing into their head. And he goes in and he's like, "Hey, can I talk to the manager? You know, hey, listen. It's a local drone racing club. No, not the big drones, the big scary 5 inches that you're talking about. Look, he has a tiny whoop with him. He's like, these are the drones we fly, right? They're little. We fly them around. We race them. We hang out. We drink beers. We eat food. And we were wondering if we could come in some afternoon when you're not too busy, you know, and we could just set up, like, maybe have a race gate with you. We set up some of these race gates. We kind of just put them around. We fly around. We just hang out and have a good time. You know, probably maybe, and here's where you exaggerate the number. Probably maybe 20, 25 people are going to come. They may bring some family, be here for a couple hours, you know? And like, you know, what do you think? Yeah, sure, we open at 4, but it doesn't really get busy till 8. Why don't you guys come in? You know, I don't know. Like, we once had a race at a local Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was like literally as we were flying, the band was setting up to like play country music, and the restaurant was full of people. We were out on the patio, so the manager basically just gave us the patio so that people weren't getting drones smashed into their face. But inside, you know, so like basically you just gotta go and schmooze the guy. And like there was a local brewery, a local brew pub. And they had a back room with a stage, and they would have events there. And they just gave it to us. And, like, they love it because 20 or 30 people come. They all buy food. They buy beer. They're there all afternoon. Like, whatever. Absolutely. We don't care. We're not using that back room anyway. It's empty. You go to a local, I don't know, a hotel is less of a, you could go to a hotel. They have empty rooms. But the problem is they don't get any money just for you being there. So they're going to want to charge you for it. But a restaurant, a bar, a brew pub, a brewery, any place that has access to the public and sells food and drink or other such things and like has a space that like a patio or a back room that they're not using, you just get a charismatic dude to go in and schmooze them. And sometimes you get a yes. That's how you do it. By the way, don't offer to pay right off the bat. Because, like, the idea is, like, maybe they'll just be happy to have some people there fucking turning tables. Right? Okay. But if you're like me, and you're not a charismatic dude, and you just have a resting bitch face, you got to find the charismatic dude to go schmooze the manager. Happy holidays, Atreides FPV. Thank you for a $10 super chat. Appreciate you. Trying to choose between the AGO2 and the Hall V4 gimbals on a TX15. AGO2, way better. They're more expensive. You know, that's like asking, should I get the, you know, the grade A Wagyu steak or should I get just the regular steak? Hey, the regular steak's good. I'm not going to be mad about it. But clearly the Wagyu is better or whatever. Like you'll pay more money. You don't have to get the AGO2. The Hall effect gimbals are fine. You will be happy with the Hall effect gimbals. You will fly just as good as you ever did. The AGO2s are nicer. The analogy I like to use is it's like leather upholstery in a car. You don't need leather upholstery. Your car will be fine with cloth seats. But if you do get the leather upholstery, every time you slide in, you'll be like, oh, I like this, right? That's what you're paying for. Are the AGO2s cheaper than the Hall effect gimbals? Surely not. I don't know. The AGO2 are better. Siati, what do you mean RSSI versus RSSI DBM? Is this a question? What is Siati trying to ask? Let me see if I can see something in his comment history.
I mean, I think he means like explain the difference, right? Because RSSI is a calculated value that's useless, and RSSI DBM is a real number that tells the sense, like how loud a receiver is.
RSSI is a percent, but percent of what? And because percent of what is not defined, it's useless. Like, imagine that your gas gauge showed how full your gas tank was, but instead of being calibrated to your gas tank, it was just a percent of an arbitrary vehicle picked from history. Now, like, you would learn that your gas tank was full and when it read 89%, and it was empty when it read 25%. You would figure it out, but it would be useless. It would be basically useless. Now, imagine that instead of having a gas gauge that's calibrated to a percent of some arbitrary vehicle that isn't your vehicle, you just had a gas gauge that told you you have 2 gallons left in your tank. Right? Wouldn't that be better? In fact, I'm doing a Seinfeld bit here. Why do gas gauges say percent full and not number of gallons left? Now, modern cars will show you number of miles to empty, which is really actually even more useful. But it is interesting, like with all the technology we have in the vehicles, why don't you tell me how many gallons are in my tank instead of what percent it is? I know, it's because the float, that's how, I know the actual answer. But like, DBM is you have 5 gallons of gas in the tank. RSSI is you are at 79%. 79% of what? Something. Not that useful. RSSI will read 10% or whatever, but because it's not calibrated to express LRS, to LoRa, you're still fine. You need DBM is... RSSI is meaningless. DBM is what you want. It's an actual amount, as opposed to RSSI, which is a percent of something meaningless. Crom wants to know, why isn't a speedometer in percent? Yeah, let's do speedometer. That's a great analogy. What if your speedometer was in percent? And your speedometer is calibrated so that 5 miles an hour is 0% and 70 miles an hour is 100%. That's kind of like what RSSI is. Well, what if I want to go faster than that? I don't know, 100%. 100% of what? Wow. Nathan says, I've been watching you guys since I was 13. I'm 20 now. That's not possible. I haven't been doing this that long. Oh my God, I have. You and the Rotorite guys inspired me to dive into drones. I now fly drones professionally here in the Philippines. That does my heart so good. I'm so proud when I hear things like that. Nathan, congratulations, man. Keep doing great things. One of my favorite stories in that direction. One of my favorite stories in that direction is Olaf Hichwa. Olaf Hichwa. Oh, here's his website. Olaf Hichwa, when he was 13 years old, emailed me. He was going to design his own flight controller. 13-year-old kid. He's like, I want to make my own flight controller. He reached out to me. He did, in fact, make his own flight controller as a kid. So good for him. And he's been corresponding with me on and off over the years. He once offered to send me a battery he bought if I wanted to test it. So, like, this overachieving SOB went on to become a founder of Neros. And I know anytime, military use of drones comes up, there are people who are like, F that guy. That's not what set that aside if you can. My point is, like, this little 13-year-old who was corresponding with me is now a grown man. Somehow I've been doing this long enough that some kid who got into FPV and was emailing me, hey, how do you set up a flight controller? Now he's a grown man who is the co-founder of let's see. I think they're backed by Peter Thiel. $75 million Series B fundraising led by Sequoia Capital. Okay. Like, I cannot believe, number one, how long I've been doing this. And number two, that, children, literal children, okay, teenagers, who reached out to me years ago, now are grown adults who are founding $75 million companies and other such things. Blows my freaking mind. Anyway. Blows my mind. Yeah, I was in a meeting, and it just so happened that Olaf had a meeting in the same building that day. And the person I was having a meeting with was like, "Oh, the Neros guys are here. Do you want to meet them?" I went, "Sure." And Olaf came in the room, and he's like, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, "Your name rings a bell." Because Olaf Hichwa is a very sort of distinctive name. I'm like, I cannot remember what we talked about. I had to go back to my email and look him up to remind myself. But I was like, who's this? He's wearing a freaking suit jacket, and a real shirt. And he's the Neros guy. Yeah. Anyway. Have you heard about the new physics in the Liftoff experimental branch? I have. Liftoff has released Physics 6.0 in their experimental branch. If you fly Liftoff and you want to check it out, they're asking for feedback about whether the new physics model is better and whether they should make it their standard physics model. So if you're interested, go try it out. Do they have a how to try it out? You basically just go into Steam and you do the, yeah, here we go. Liftoff physics update. We want your update. You basically just opt into the experimental branch using these instructions. and try out Physics 6.0. See if it's better. I haven't tried it yet, but if you have Liftoff on your computer, give her a go. See if it's any better. I kind of feel like I'm not a good enough pilot to really, I'll be like, I don't know, is it better? I guess I would like, if I just immediately go, oh, I like this better, I'll know. Maybe we should try it out. Do a video testing both of them. You know? Anyway. Thank you for $13.99 Canadian dollars from Adam Verby. I'm setting up a flight controller in a tiny trainer building. Flight controller is Tune RC Poly F405 with a BMI 270 gyro. Am I understanding my option for Dshot is 300 due to the gyro frequency being 3.2K? Is that correct? Yes. So you basically, Betaflight will not let you run Dshot faster than the gyro frequency. The idea from the Betaflight devs is that there is no, think about this. Imagine that the gyro sampling rate takes this long, however much time this is. So we sample the gyro, we wait a certain amount of time, we sample the gyro again. Maybe that's 8 kilohertz, maybe it's 4 kilohertz. In the case of the BMI gyro, it's 3.2 kilohertz. That's how often we sample the gyro. Now, obviously, every time we sample the gyro, we're going to calculate the PID loop, and we're going to output new motor data. And we need to do that every time we sample the gyro. If it takes this long to sample the gyro, and it takes this long to output the motor data, that's bad. Because now the motor data is stale. The motor data is one sample time behind. That's bad. We don't want that. Makes the drone fly worse. But the question is, if it takes this long to sample the gyro, does it matter if it takes this long to output the motor, the new motor value, or this long? You follow me? And the Betaflight devs' position is that as long as we finish outputting the new motor value before the next gyro sampling interval, that's fine. The Betaflight devs' position is that there is no benefit to outputting the new motor value faster. Okay? That is actually contrary to what the KISS developers know. Who are the KISS developers? KISS Ultra, FetTech, KISS Ultra, I don't know. Sorry. I can't keep it all straight. I never have been able to. And I frankly haven't really, it's all changed anyways. Once upon a time I had it straight, and now it's all changed, and I don't really care. But like KISS Ultra supports faster Dshot up to Dshot 2400. Their argument is that if I sample the gyro, I calculate the PID loop. At that point, I want to get the new motor data output to the ESCs as fast as I can. Why would I wait? I want the motors to have fresh data while it's hot and fresh and not any longer. And so their argument is you run the fastest Dshot value that you can so that instead of it taking this long for the motors to get their new value, they get it here. And then nothing happens. And then we sample the gyro again. Who's right? I don't know. There's an argument that the motors, no matter how fast you update the ESC, the motors can only change speed so fast anyway because the motors are a physical object with mass and inertia. And so, like, the difference between sample the gyro, output the motor data, and sample the gyro, output the motor data, sample the gyro again, that the difference is minimal. I don't know who's right, though, ultimately. Who knows? But the Betaflight devs say that running Dshot faster than the PID loop adds processor load with no benefit, and they won't let you do it.
You're saving like 0.3 milliseconds. So I think the argument is, yeah, that there's no,
the difference motors, we know between Dshot 600 and 300?
Yeah, I think motors take like at least 10 milliseconds to spool up from a change, depending on the change, But I think in some tests it's 20 to 30 milliseconds that I've seen. So I think that, and obviously can depend on what you're doing and braking and all that stuff. But I think it's just such a small number. That's all.
Yeah. So people have done tests where they measure the motor's RPM, and then they change the motor. They send a new Dshot packet that changes the motor's RPM, and then they detect how long it takes for the RPM to start changing. And that is typically on the order of, say, 10 milliseconds. And so the difference between Dshot 300 and Dshot 600 being in the fractions of, is it fractions of a microsecond? I'm not sure what scale we're on here. The idea, the Betaflight devs' position is that it's just such a small difference, it doesn't matter. And therefore, you're just adding processor load for no benefit. I don't know. That argument makes sense to me, but also I've seen pilots, like there was and you guys are gonna laugh. You guys, I know, because people laugh when I tell this story. I handed my radio to Evan Turner, and he started flying my quad, and he was like, "What is wrong with this quad?" And it was a tiny trainer. It was a tiny trainer that he built. Well, his company built. So like he was like, "What is wrong with this quad?" And I had accidentally had my radio set to 50 hertz instead of 500 hertz or 1000 hertz, and the latency of the espresso link. And like, I'm not surprised that he could feel it. Like I get it. He's a finely tuned machine. But like, he immediately was like, "What is this garbage? I want to vomit." It was so bad to him. And he changed the packet rate to 500 hertz, and then suddenly everything was fine. I was like, wow. Like it was night and day to him. So like, people can feel that. Like I might be able to tell the difference. I might not. But it certainly wouldn't be night and day like that, where I would immediately know that something was wrong. So like, somewhere out there, is there a person who can notice the difference between Dshot 2400 and Dshot 300 or 600? Maybe, I don't know. But like most people, I think it doesn't matter. Fusion 7029 wants to know, can you recommend me a long-range analog directional antenna? I don't know, how long range? How long do you want it? What's long range? How long is long? How much do you want to spend? Let's take a look at a typical FPV retailer and see what they have to sell. And like, I think most people would end up with an antenna. Let me just look through what we've got. Why does an antenna have an amp rating? That's stupid. Why? Anyway, never mind. Yeah. Okay. So like, most of the time, I think you're going to settle on an antenna kind of like this. Crosshair Extreme. This antenna, 10 dBi. With a 30-degree beam width. Forget about flight beam. Don't worry about that. We'll focus on the actual 3 dB beam width of 30 degrees. 10 dBi, 30-degree beam width. Here we've got the Vaz Crosshair Extreme. Is that the same? Oh, that's the Crosshair Extreme Mini. This is the full-size one. 10 dBi, 30 degree. Basically the same. I'm sorry. Why is the bandwidth? Is this 5? That's not right. It's 5.8 gigahertz. That's not correct. So same thing. 10 dBi, 30 degree. And then we've got the TrueRC X2 Air. 13 dBi, which doesn't sound like much, but remember 3 dBi is 1.4 times the range, so that's a fair whack up, with a 34-degree vertical and 74-degree horizontal beam. Now, people could go, you could go pretty far on these antennas, but some people would say, well, that's not a true long-range antenna. So if you want to go to higher gain than that, the problem is they start to get really unwieldy. But 5.8 gigahertz high gain. Here's the X21. The X21 is 21 plus dB. I will tell you, I recently had the opportunity to use this antenna. It's extraordinary. I got so far on 25 milliwatts with this antenna. I was shocked, and the video was perfect. Now, the beam width is so narrow that if you fly slightly to the left or slightly to the right, you lose video. That's the downside of the really high gain antennas. I actually have some of these antennas, these X21s, and you notice, do you see that there's no price? Out of stock and unavailable. I actually had some of these made and then did not end up using them. If anybody wants to buy an X21 5.8, I will sell it to you. I'm not joking. I literally have a pile of these. I was gonna make a project for a person, and they said, "Get me the best antennas," and so I did, and then ended up not using them. So I'm like sitting on an upsetting amount of money. If I were the kind of person who cared about money, I'd be upset at how much I spent on these antennas and then didn't end up selling them to this person. But I'm not. I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. If you want to buy one of these antennas, I will sell it to you. If you're in the United States, it would be ideal. I have already paid the import tariffs. It is an obnoxious amount of money. But it's a freaking good antenna, so DM me if you want to buy one. And I know I will not make you a good deal. I will charge you a fair amount. I will not rip you off, but having spent too much money on them, I will now not take a loss to recoup any of that money. Here's the slightly lower gain version. It's $150 for 17 to 18 dB with a slightly wider beam. Anyway, so it's just a question of how much you want to spend and how narrow you can afford the beam to be. The narrower the beam, the more precisely the antenna has to be aligned, but the further you can go. Blunty, anybody like being like, oh, I want to buy one of those antennas from Bardwell?
Yes, quite a few people.
Really? I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. You can DM me on Discord. You can email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. I will be so happy to sell you these antennas. They're brand new. Okay. Yeah. The two things went wrong, and I'll tell you because it's kind of funny. Two things went wrong in the procurement of these antennas. I didn't know the price of this antenna because it doesn't say on the website. So when this guy said to me, "Hey, I want you to build this thing for me, and I want this antenna," he was like, "How much is it going to be?" And I was like, I don't know, like $100. Because I was like, it's kind of like that old joke about Bill Gates, like, how much could a banana cost? $8? I was like, how much could this antenna be? I don't know, $100. And it turns out the antenna is, the retail price of the antenna is more than $100. And then on top of that, we got dinged with tariffs because the antenna comes from Canada. And then on top of that, I bought twice as many as I needed. Because the HDZero screen has 2 antenna connectors, but only one of them is used for analog. So not only did I undercharge this person for these antennas, because I told him it was $100, and like, I'm not going to go back on my word. Not only did I take a loss on the antennas that I sold, I also bought twice as many antennas as I actually needed, and I didn't account for tariffs. So I'm bad at business and should just stick to YouTube, is the takeaway. Telling it to you, it's funny. Why not use a helical? Why not use a helical? Helicals are great. Helicals are inexpensive and high gain. Look at this. I can get a 15 dB helical antenna for $40. The only downside with helicals is that they're long and heavy, and they're not very durable in the field. Like, a helical relies on this spiral of cable being very precisely oriented. And it's really easy if you're like tromping around, putting it in a backpack, putting it in a bag, putting it in a car. It's really easy for them to break. So helicals are inexpensive ways of getting reasonably good performance out of a high gain antenna at a low price. But they're not as durable. And also they're big and long. So this antenna, the True RC antenna I showed you, is flat. It packs down easier. I don't know. Helicals are good, though. You save a lot of money on a helical for sure. Okay. Yeah, I learned that I should not be allowed to quote a product to customers. That I am bad at that. But there you go. I got a super chat here. I can't read your name. So I built a new quad and it flies good on default pits and filters, but feels a bit floaty. Any ideas? What does floaty mean? Does floaty mean that when you drop the throttle, it doesn't fall? That's just get a bigger battery and add weight, but then it'll corner worse. Usually when people say floaty, they mean that like when they drop the throttle, it doesn't fall very fast. That just means it has it's lightweight, and the disk loading is low. Use a bigger battery. See if that fixes the floatiness. That's what I would say. My QX7S won't show in Liftoff. I can hear it connect when I plug into Windows, but the controller won't show. Any ideas? Go to your device manager in Windows. So in Windows, press the start menu, type device, and you should see device manager. Hold on. Let me go to the right part of the screen. Device manager. And then in device manager, look for your joystick. And see if the driver's messed up or if it's not being picked up for some reason. The other thing you can do is go to game controllers. Set up USB game controllers. And you should see it there or not. But those are the things that I would do. What do you think about the SpeedyBee Mario 8? It's pretty freaking cool. Can you still buy it? I thought that you couldn't buy this anymore. It's out of stock. SpeedyBee Mario 8. The drone is out of stock. Did I review this? I don't know. I don't think I reviewed it. I've seen it. It's pretty cool. It's a folding 8-inch long-range drone. It's pretty slick. I think you can't get it. Can you get it? Send inquiry. I don't want to send an inquiry. No. Get FPV Mario 8 frame kit. Mario 5, no. Mario 8 AliExpress. Can you buy it, or is it actually available? Quantity 37 available. Is that really 37 available? Seems like it's available. How about that? It's been out of stock from SpeedyBee for a long time. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little folder. I mean, if you want an 8-inch folder, it's a pretty slick little drone. Of the folding mechanisms I have seen, this is not the worst, which is intended as a compliment. Most folding mechanisms are terrible. Oh, let's see. Please review the Walksnail Ascent goggles with the light VTX kit. Okay, hang on. Joshua Bardwell, Walksnail Ascent. Okay, I did. It's great when people ask me to review something that I released a video about already. I'm like, yeah, I did. Caddx Protos with Ascent video system. What is he asking? The light VTX?
The light VTX. It's similar. It doesn't have the same casing on it, but it is 100 milliwatts, and it's the same system.
I mean, it's the exact same VTX and goggles.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, watch my review of the Caddx Protos. It's the exact same system. I don't think I'm going to do a separate review video of the light VTX in a different drone. It's the exact same thing. So, you're welcome, I guess. Oh. What does flight mode actually do in Betaflight? Like acro versus angle? How should I interpret this question, Blunty? I'm a little confused. Is it the obvious one? They're just asking about angle, acro. There's a lot of different, there's a lot of different modes. How I learned something. What are you asking? I need more detail. It's a good question. I would like to answer it, but I don't want to just, I know this is out of character for me. I don't want to just like pontificate for 10 minutes about the wrong thing. Can you review the new Flywoo O4 Lite wide camera lens mod? Can I? Can I? You mean this? Oh. You mean this? Is that this? Hold on. Come on, out of the box. Flywoo Goku HD 1S. Is that it? Is that the mod? Is that the wide lens mod? I think so. Is that it? Tell me, chat. Tell me, chat. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what they said they were sending me. Chat, am I cooked? Am I cooked, chat? I mean, it doesn't look like a standard light VTX. FetTech spike absorbers are not worth it. They don't do anything meaningful. Mupshot, I do agree that I need gold chains to go with this shirt. If I had any, I would be wearing them. I do like showing off my... Oh, yeah, no, that's better. I need fewer buttons. Should I just... Now I just look like I need a cigarette. I feel like I've lost all decorum. See, you need... That's too much. Now I look like... No. You need... I think 2 buttons was right. 2 buttons? 1 button? This shirt doesn't have a top button. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I will be reviewing... I will be reviewing the wide lens mod. I have it. Spike absorbers are not worth it. They don't do anything. Capacitors do all that you need. Spike absorbers don't do really anything. Proof. Chris Rosser proved it. Oh, yeah, look. There we go. Wide lens set. Yep. Wide camera set. ND filters. And for some reason, a gallium nitride power adapter? I mean, thank you, but also why? Why? What is that for? 65-watt power adapter.
GaNFETs.
What's that, Blunty?
GaNFETs. That's the good stuff.
I know. I mean, that's a great little product, gallium nitride. But why does Flywoo make a... Why did they send me... This isn't even Flywoo branded. Yeah, it is. Flywoo 65-watt GaN charger. Why is Flywoo selling a gallium nitride charger? I mean, beautiful. I love it. Thank you for sending it to me. But why? All right. All right. We are coming to the end of the stream. I can tell from looking at my beautiful watch. Oh yeah, watch time. Let's take a couple more. Angel, do you recommend trying to get Walksnail with goggles L for about $350, or DJI Light Flywoo wide lens for about $400? I would take DJI over Walksnail unless I was worried about difficulty getting DJI hardware with the impending ban. That's a personal decision. Didn't you discuss watches on the 11th? I'm sorry. Am I only supposed to discuss watches like once a month? You go to hell. I'll discuss watches all I want. Skydozer, I am streaming tomorrow. I have all the streams through the end of December scheduled on my channel's live stream. I will be streaming. I think I'm going to miss one because I'm taking my wife to Atlanta for a little adults night out. We're getting babysitting. We're going to see Jason Ladanye. Do you guys know who Jason Ladanye is? He is a card magician / mechanic, and he's doing a show in Atlanta, and I'm going to take her to see the show. So we're going to see him do some close-up card magic. I don't know. I think it's going to be fun. But we might not be back Sunday. Yeah.
Sounded like you put the slash and it sounded like he's a mechanic, not a card mechanic. He's a card mechanic. He does. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So a card mechanic is like, so lots of magicians do card tricks, and sometimes those card tricks involve manipulation of the deck of cards. A card mechanic is a person who has mastered the art of manipulating a deck of cards to a ridiculously high degree. So, like, they're very good at doing things like they can do basic manipulations like bottom dealing. They can do, but also like I firmly believe Jason Ladanye represents that he can cut a deck of cards exactly in half and then shuffle the deck of cards in a perfect riffle. Right? And so if you think about it, if you could do that, you just go, and it looks like you've shuffled the cards. But in fact, because every time you do it, you perfectly cut the deck and perfectly riffle the cards evenly, you actually have not randomized the deck at all. What you've done is eminently predictable. So like a card mechanic could just pick 12 cards off the top of the deck by feel. And now it looks to you like he just cut the deck, but actually he cut to the 12th card where he knows the 13th card is the king. Anyway, that's a card mechanic. And as near as I can tell, he is one of the best card mechanics in the world. Actually, probably the best card mechanic in the world you've never heard of, because he doesn't have a freaking TikTok channel. But he is incredibly entertaining, and I'm going to take my wife to see him down in Atlanta. And we might not be back in time for the live stream on the 21st. So I didn't schedule one for the 21st is my takeaway. Anyway, that's it, though. We're done for today. In fact, we've gone over. I'm going to let Siati do his stream. We'll see you guys tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Thank you, Plenty. Thank you guys for coming out. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.